Welcome to a cloudy Scotland, guys. Last time out, I drove through northwest England to Glasgow, stopping at Celtic Park and Glasgow Rangers. From these Ibrox gates, we now drive up towards Inverness to start my shorter version of the North Coast 500. Day 2. Don't think there's going to be as many football grounds as yesterday. It's going to be a fun driving day today. Linked up with all the guys. There's 6 of us in convoy. Here are the cars. You have my Lotus Emira with its mid-mounted 3.5 litre V6, BMW M850i with its 4.4 litre turbo V8, I had one of those a couple of years back, the Mercedes GLA 45 and the BMW M135i. You might have spotted 2 other cars at the rear of the pack in the last clip, Honda Accord Euro R, Renault Sport Clio 197, both 2 litre petrols. Quite the varied lineup. I think we might have found a bit more James Bond nostalgia. I say some more. Aside from being a mountaineer's or hiker's paradise, Glencoe is a fictional home of James Bond's family estate, Skyfall Lodge. Now, what wasn't clear at all is that although the road to the landmark exists, despite driving for almost an hour up and down the single track road, the house isn't actually located in Scotland, much to the dismay of the drivers in the GLA and the Accord. I never actually realised how dark my Lotus looks until I watched it back in this clip, especially when you compare the Emira in dark verdant against all of the different greens on display here. I think the South Seas blue on the GLA 45 highlights it even more. So, Inverness, capital of the Scottish Highlands and home of Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Cali Thistle won the Scottish Cup in 2015 and came runners-up to Celtic last year. You'll spot the Kylesku Bridge in the background, which sits in the Moray Firth. If you followed it southwest, you'd end up in the Loch Ness. If you fancied a long boat ride east or a very, very cold swim, you would end up on the Norwegian coast by Stavanger or Bergen. I'm not sure I've ever seen such a detailed sign. Road to Applecross, Bealach. Tight, not suitable for motorhomes or learner drivers. Luckily for me, the Emira isn't very wide. It's 17 centimetres narrower than a 3 Series, so I'm sure I'll be fine. As I continue the drive up towards Applecross, I get views upon views upon views. Got a thumbs up from all the group here. Cupra Leon, Focus ST, Nissan 350Z, Honda S2000, Civic Type R, Golf R. After waiting very patiently, I continue upwards towards the summit. Those that know me well will recognise that patience is not my biggest strength. I love driving up these sorts of roads where you back up on yourself, so it's really easy to see where you've come from, and it gives you a different view or perspective of the same scenery. This red stone bridge over the Russellburn River was full of charm, even if stopping led to this. So me trying to be the good Samaritan ends up reversing to get out of the way. And look how little, if I open the door, it might give you a bit more perspective. Well, I can't even fully open the door. I am literally an inch away from bottoming out. So I know there is the sign at the bottom, but best believe if this pass is busy, it is a long way up. Because if you get any oncoming traffic, boy. With that being said, I did this all in one take. This road reminds me of a European pass you're likely to see in Switzerland or Italy. very different to any that I've driven in Britain. It's very steep, tight, great views, and with a sheer and potentially daunting drop. That's one of the things that I've come to love about the Emira. I trust it. The car makes you feel in total control no matter the road. Luckily, I have no fear of heights, because especially when you push on, there is always a risk of, well, you know what. It's never fazed me in this car, not once. When you make it up to the top, you are greeted with one of the best views you will find in the whole of Britain. It is absolutely spectacular. Panoramic springs to mind. You've got freshwater lakes, the loch in the background. Even if you have no interest in cars or football, this scenery is as good as it gets. Even when packing the drone away, the Emira grabs the attention. I think this guy wanted a picture of it, rather than a conversation with me. I think his name was Alex. The scenery driving along this coastal road in between Applecross and Ullapool was stunning. The waves, the rocks, the clouds almost being hidden by the mountains in the distance, and with almost no cars, you can drive as slow as you want to take it all in. As I pull over in the environmental station to put the drone down, I'm greeted by an enthusiastic man wearing high vis. He will be known as Enviroman. I didn't even intend to record this. My drone was on the floor ready to pick up. He blocked my door and went off on a tangent about Scottish history and tourists. You can even pinpoint when he's told me the dad joke. These encounters are one of the things I love about road trips, getting to engage with locals that you just wouldn't see during any other form of transport. As entertaining as Enviroman was, we part ways, me north, him south. My DJI mini drone has caught some beautiful footage throughout my time with the Emira, and this view of Loch Assynt and the surrounding scenery is right up there. I read that this loch is pretty incredible for fishing, not that I've ever wanted to try it. Ford Focus ST ahoy, we're almost at the most famous part of the trip. When I first researched this route, the image that was most used to illustrate the North Coast 500 was this, Kylesku Bridge. It opened in 1984 after taking just under 2 years to build. Prior to this, there was a ferry connecting Kylesku and Kylestrom. This bridge is a really spectacular piece of engineering, and its biggest achievement in my view was adding to the scenery and minimising changes to the landscape. Bravo! I did say earlier that this was going to be my version of the NC500. So rather than going to the most northern tip by John O'Groats and Thurso, Kylesku Bridge was the start of our descent. More to come though, don't you worry. As we drive back down south, just 13 miles north of the aforementioned Keswick Bridge lies Ross County. They play at Victoria Park, which holds just over 6,500 people, and contest the Highland Derby with rivals Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Just under 100 miles southeast of Ross County lies the Cairngorms, the second of 2 national parks in Scotland. This particular part of the Cairngorms houses the highest main road in the United Kingdom, at just under 700 metres above sea level. Cairngorms Pass leads to the old military road. It's quite different to the routes on the North Coast 500 too. It feels pretty remote, but it is a spectacular piece of road. I wouldn't say that this road is as scenic as Applecross for example, but it's a more enjoyable road to drive on, that's for sure. Despite the clouds being at the top and the bleak looking weather, there's visibility for miles, and there's super smooth tarmac and a real sense of flow to it. The best thing of all though, is that it's absolutely empty. The North Coast 500 has really picked up in popularity over the last few years, and it's led to more cars on the road as a result. Great for local tourism, I'm sure, but for me, it can't compare with mainland Europe for that reason. The old military road though is almost deserted, because although this used to be used as a through road for the military before motorways were invented, the A9 and the A92 either side of the Cairngorms absorb nearly all of the traffic north and south. The jumps? Just a bonus. Sadly, this is the last road trip that I'm doing in the Emira. I've got another video or two to bring to you before it leaves me though. 8.5 hours back from here. Long old stint. Don't know if I'm visible. Just over 2 hours left until we're back in London. I'm in utter dismay at the fact that M6 toll costs £7. £7! Over to the days of 4. Inflation affects everything, eh? Almost there. Made it. I couldn't even tell you how many hours, but now in the early hours of the morning, and we live to fight another day. Here are the last 2 episodes showing my route up to Scotland. That's one for the football fans, and me taking my car around Spa-Francorchamps. See you in early September for the next video.